In this video, I'm going to show you how to take apart, assess, and reassemble and lubricate your bearings on your swing arm and suspension linkage. This is really an important piece to do with some regularity, and if you buy a used bike, it's good to kind of see where that's at. And from the factory, don't assume these are going to have a lot of lubrication. But in any case, so with each one of these areas, you have needle bearings. The knuckle there with the link there, all individually have them, okay? So these don't rotate or pivot on the bolt. They're not supposed to anyways. What actually rotates is the bearing up there, okay? So first thing, start with the swing arm here. So I have this side apart. But to take this side apart, I find easiest way to do that, you can use a screwdriver, but just grab on with a needle nose and you can get these little end caps off. And sometimes you can just work it out with your finger once that's there. So there's one on each side. Ideally, you keep orientation. So this cap goes back there and that cap goes back there. Now, there's also this collar on the inside of there that actually you can see where the bearings actually ride there. Sometimes you can just push that out with your finger. I found on this one that had a little extra wear on it. I had to just sort of take a screwdriver like this and gently tap until that came through the other side. Now be careful though, don't get your screwdriver into that seal there and damage that, okay? But once that's out, then you can see and assess how smooth the surface is where the bearing actually rides. So that's the most important area that you want to be able to assess. Now, I should have mentioned too that before I take that apart, I did a reasonable job of cleaning up. I like to use WD-40 because it's a decent solvent for cleaning off dirt and rust. Dirt and grease, but it also has some lubricity versus some other solvents that might actually make it harder to lubricate the bearings later. All right, so once you have that apart, again, assess that this isn't overly worn, like huge grooves in there, or if it's rusty or pitted, then you might want to go ahead and replace that. And then you can take a look on the inside here, and you can see those needle bearings there. So assess to make sure it looks like there's not like flat spots on there, rust, dirt, debris, etc. If that's the case, then you need to go ahead and replace those. The other piece too is don't go crazy if you're going to go in there with your finger and grease and lube and stuff, because you can actually knock those needles out of place and that really will create some frustration for you trying to individually put them all back. But then take a good high quality grease, sort of gently put that in there. So that's a nice waterproof grease there. Sort of gently get that in there and then lubricate this and then make sure there's grease on both sides of those seals before putting these caps back in there. And it's virtually the same process for all of these parts here. So like for this one, for example, sometimes you got to just kind of pry that out gently. Sometimes like a little pick like that can just gently get in there and pull that out. But again, be careful, there's a seal there. Sometimes they just push out with your finger like that, and then you can kind of see the bearings inside of there. So again, same process, get everything cleaned up. Try to keep it the same orientation with the collars or bushings going back in the same direction if you can. And then get it all back together, lubricated, and you'll have quite a bit of time riding before you have to service again.